Welcome to Chat with Leaders. Our mission is to give resilient servant leaders a platform for sharing the inspiring things that they're doing to lead their teams, customers, and themselves wisely. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by Hank Reid, the owner of Lettum Eat. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Of course, glad to have you. So tell me a little bit about Lettum Eat. Where did this idea come from?
Well, Lettum Eat is just kind of a mantra that I've had in the restaurant industry for well over 20 years. As a leader in the kitchen and in restaurant environments, it's kind of a statement we use when we're getting ready to accomplish something or something has been done, to where we just say, hey, it's plates up, meals served, let them eat. Or even sometimes when it's an issue or problem, it's like, hey, what's taking so long on this? Well, here, let them eat, that kind of thing. So that was something that, I would say a number of people that I've influenced over the years, they heard it, they know what it was. And even now, with it being the name of this organization, they can kind of relate to it. So it has a following of its own.
The name in and of itself is super catchy. Yeah. I love it. It just rolls off the tongue so nicely. How did you get started with it?
The business in itself was just something back in November that, I decided was, it was time to kind of do something in my community. I've developed a few nonprofits while I've been in the Snellville area for over 20 years. And finally, it was like a calling from God to say, hey, take the tools that I've given you in all these years and, you have to do something with it.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of had the thought process that I can't take this stuff with me. So I need to either teach it or leave it in some way, some shape, form, or fashion. And me being in the restaurant industry was never about just kind of grinding in the kitchen all the time. It was always about that other thing, the videos, the cookbooks, the training, the mentoring, or whatever else that came with it. So just being flexible in the idea was a lot of where Lettum Eat came from in regards to developing. So, we just basically moved in the direction of a ministry. And instead of going out there for profit, we wanted to get mobile and give the food away.
Was that one of your first ideas to go mobile? Was that like kind of the core foundation principle of it?
Mobile was definitely the thing. I've been in the restaurant industry for over 30 years now. So owned my own restaurant, worked in a number of restaurants, tired of restaurants, ready to get out of them and basically drag back in. And we all kind of get to the point to where we're saying, well, we're going to start a food truck, and that's an idea. But what a lot of people don't understand is that you might as well have a restaurant, because you have to have a commissary and four walls anyway, because you can't just cook all your food and leave it on a truck in your driveway at home. You have to have somewhere to clean your materials, prepare your food, that kind of thing. So, it's just as much going on with that. So for me, it's like, it's this ministry. I worked in places where people that I knew as a family myself couldn't afford to eat.
Yeah.
But, it was always my dream and vision to be in a situation where people who probably couldn't afford places before could at least afford the meals. And that's why it's been such a great deal with me, being with my current employer at First Baptist Church, to be able to present and provide meals for people, great meals, restaurant quality meals at a price that a whole family can afford.
Which is fantastic. I've not really been in the food industry at all. Do similar programs like this exist anywhere else?
Well, one of the kind of foundations of our model was about being ready for natural disasters. Chef Jose Andres is a great example to me of, a chef that's been in the industry for a long time. And basically what he does is, earthquakes in Haiti, hurricanes in different areas. He's the first one on the road.
Really?
And you hear about this guy making thousands of sandwiches and feeding people. He has restaurants, all over the East Coast and several other areas in the country, but he's known for giving back.
Yeah.
So, from my standpoint, I don't shy away from considering myself a chef to whatever level, but that's where I think that, you get to a certain level in life in this industry, that's where I want to be anyway. I have no desire to have a restaurant or open a restaurant. I have people asking me all the time, and it's a very fine line to even get me to go in that direction. But what I'm doing right now, it means more than anything else I've done.
How has this whole like the coronavirus stuff kind of impacted? I'm sure you've had to kind of shift or push the gas on some things a little bit quicker than you were expected to.
Well, the story basically comes, like this. I'm the executive chef and food and beverage director at First Baptist Church in Snellville. So you get an opportunity like this and you come from the restaurant industry, you're all gung-ho about doing these things because they have a wonderful facility, 11,000 square foot kitchen in that building. It's like, who has a kitchen that big?
Yeah.
So you start thinking about all the different things that you can do, but it takes time for mindsets to adjust to, we're not just doing church food anymore. We got this high level of product going out. People are enjoying the product. So, after a while, if you're used to going all the time, it's hard to not have to go so hard.
Yep.
So, basically you just get to a point to where, I had to kind of slow down and pray about it. And God really started speaking to me about what my purpose was. And it wasn't necessarily to force anything on anyone else to try to push an agenda one way or the other. It was honestly so I'd have time to develop this idea of Lettum Eat. Mm-hmm. So, that basically enabled me to say, okay, well, let's get organized. Let's get our nonprofit status together. Let's work on some operating procedures. Let's look at what this organization really looks like. Let's work on a mission statement. Let's make sure that we have foundational principles about what we're trying to do. And the mobility part of it was initial. So, November, I started this thing up and I'm taking my time, not in a hurry. But then we come into 1st of 2020, moving into late February, and bam, here we are with COVID-19.
Yeah.
And it was almost like, I tell this story all the time, it was like God said, now. That was all I heard, was him saying now. And I knew exactly what he was talking about. It's this development of an idea that you have in place. People are going to need you, not just the target client that was, initially, I've worked in downtown Atlanta and out in Athens, and you have visible homelessness that you see, so you know that there's food insecurity. Mm-hmm. And what I've learned that being in our area in Gwinnett County, we have one of the largest populations of extended stay motel families also.
Did not realize that. Yes. I've lived in Gwinnett County my entire life.
Very, 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 very difficult situation for a lot of families to have to be, have to deal with. And we don't have a homeless shelter in Gwinnett County. They're actually working on the first one now. But for this county to be as large as it is, we don't have a situation that helps people out that's specific for that. But we're developing that really fast through this incident. But it was like God said now, and I knew what I needed to do. Sitting on the tool to produce the meals, having the skill set to be able to do it, having a leadership ability to be able to bring some people together to make it happen. And we just got started. The opportunity started opening itself up. The first thing I thought about was how are these kids going to eat if they're out of school?
Yep.
So I was very excited to hear that Gwinnett County stepped up, followed by a lot of other counties to take care of these kids, for lunches and for breakfast and lunches.
I was thrilled with that.
Yeah.
My brother has 5, and being able to, go to school and grab those meals every few days has been life-saving for me.
Right. I mean, it was big. So my thing was, spring break came about, and they took a week off, and that's when we stepped in. We started providing meals with a couple of other groups that we partnered with, and we took care of spring. And for spring break, we did lunch and dinner.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it was. We actually served over close to 2,500 meals during spring break this year. Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
we put a lot of meals out during spring break, and once that was over, we just kind of kept the thing going. We partnered with a couple of groups, the Gwinnett County Solicitor's Office, the Gwinnett NAACP, and Guardian Financial. And, we put this group together, we got some funds together, and then we started out serving meals. We did a 4-week campaign to where we fed close to 8,500, we served close to 8,500 meals in 4 weeks. So, and these are hot meals. Our goal is to, people want to go out to eat and go to the drive-through and can't afford it. We were putting solid meals on the table for people to go home and eat and enjoy,
and well balanced too.
Well balanced,
and not just going to McDonald's and grabbing a burger and fries. Getting actually like a legitimate full meal of the stuff that you need to have.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of works again towards our our mission is about being mobile and, prepared with care and serve with compassion to those in need, because we wanted to cover all those bases. We know if we're dealing with people in need that, we found that some people are kind of proud and they don't come out, so we wanted to make sure that, we were loving, caring, down to earth people that have an understanding for what they're going through, but not, spotlighting or putting them in a situation. We want to make sure that we serve them with compassion. We have the experience to be able to do things safely. So, that care in what we do kind of stands out also. And like I said, the biggest thing is mobility. So, people are driving around wanting to have food trucks. Well, we're driving around with a truck and we're giving the food away. I envision the ice cream man in the neighborhood ringing the bell, but I got meals.
Right, yeah.
Instead of ice cream sandwiches.
A little bit healthier for you too.
Yeah.
How I know that you partner with some churches, right? Because that's where you're getting these kitchens to be able to serve all this stuff. How did you start that? Because obviously you work with First Baptist Snellville. How did you branch out to get those other churches involved with it too?
Well, the biggest thing was knowing that, the churches are important with the kitchens. I grew up in a church with a kitchen, and man, just on every third Sunday smelling that fried chicken down in the kitchen. But, when you grow up, all of a sudden you don't smell that chicken anymore. That's because that, God rest her soul, that lady fried all the chicken she could and she went on to Jesus. So who's stepping in?
Yeah.
Who was next up for that? And I found that a lot of churches don't and didn't have a plan for that. They have the facilities, but, who's going to step into that? They spend money and invest in these commercial kitchens. So, my thing was about being able to step in and show them how to use those kitchens. So by being in the Snellville area, I had some relationships with Annistown Road Baptist Church and Zoe United Methodist Church. And I knew what kind of facilities they had. So I set out to create the same kind of partnership, basically model what we're doing at First Baptist Church and showing them how to do the same thing to reach their community, to add value to their congregation, and to utilize that cooking facility to really outreach to them. Be efficient and effective with it and not just guessing on cost and quality, but having a plan for cost and quality at the same time.
That's awesome. So are you looking for people to help out with this? How can people kind of get involved with what you're doing?
Well, right now we have a very small team, but they're very capable. I always say, we have a coalition of professional chefs and cooks, and then there are a number of people that I can call upon that I've worked with over the years that are just kind of on go and ready for this thing to continue to grow.
Yeah.
So that support is definitely there. Having volunteers to come in and help us with meal distribution is important. And I want to see young people out there. I want to see young people out helping because they need to understand what it means to serve. They need to understand the value of it. I want to see some senior adults helping because one thing that's important to me is bridging that gap between the young and the old, rather than, the older generation saying that they don't really care and the younger generation saying they don't understand. Somebody has to stand in that gap and bring them together to see the value of one another. That older generation learning from the younger generation about technology, and that younger generation learning some of the things that the older generation have gone through that's going to help them navigate their future at the same time. So I kind of stand in the middle of all that through food, trying to produce those good results.
So where are you going to be next, or over the next few weeks? Do you have that planned out yet?
Well, currently we basically took a week off to kind of reset ourselves to see, how the country, how the state and everything was opening up, because, that was definitely going to dictate need in regards to that. What we did over the 4 weeks was important because it got us out there, it got us exposed so people knew we were out there and what we were doing. This week, we were working out of the Lawrenceville Co-op on Mondays. We do a distribution over there, and we basically partner with them to do the distribution alongside their other distribution. So that's going to be successful for us, just to work with an organization that's already serving that need, and we're just, supplementing some of the things also with a hot meal. And also the Net Church over in Norcross. was another one of our really successful locations. The first week we went out there with 200 meals and we ran out in less than 30 minutes. The next week we went out with 500 meals and we ran out with 30 minutes left. So, that area is it's awesome what they're doing at that church. That's actually going to house, they partner with some of the federal organizations and private organizations, and that's going to house the first homeless shelter in Gwinnett County. Gotcha. Over at the Net Church. So we're very proud and happy to be partnering with them and doing meal distributions there. And what we found out in some of our other locations, even though the distribution numbers haven't been as high, we're still focusing on the need. I'm hearing stories about, people on Wednesday are at the door waiting on these meals. They really appreciate it. There's some senior adults, they can't drive, they can't get out of the house. And then some of those people in those areas are taking care of those folks and delivering the meals. So we're trying to put together a program to where, if anything, we can drop the meals off at a central location and they can be delivered from that point, or they can come to the church and pick the meals up also. The bottom line is to make sure that we continue to get the funding that we need to do what we're doing, and as well just kind of make sure that, we're being effective and efficient with how we do the distributions. The large units, the large locations, they work out really well for us to be on site. Mm-hmm. Some of them, we just need to put the meals together and make sure that people get them in their hands to get some help from volunteers to distribute the meals.
Yeah. How can people get in touch with you if they're interested in learning more about it or help volunteer with you?
Well, they can reach us on our website, www.lettumeat.com. That's LETTUMEAT. And info@lettumeat.com. They can send us an email. But we basically, we're on social media, Instagram, Facebook @Lettum Eat. We have a fundraiser on our Facebook site. And you can also give at lettumeat.com/give-today. And we have an account set up on there where people can give also.
Excellent. Well, we'll drop all those links in our show notes for the episode. Is there anything for the last thought that you'd like to leave the listeners with today?
Well, you know what? And I say all the time, it's being in this industry for so long, I think back to how I got started, why I wanted to do this in the first place. And I have to give a big just shout of love to my family for their support. My wife and my 5 kids. My daughters, 2 of them are graduating this year, have, triplet daughters. So it's hard doing all I do and having them support me at the same time is awesome. And I think that, I could have been a hairdresser instead of a chef. So, it just ended up this way. There was a point in time where I said, well, what do I want to do with my life? It needs to be something I like. And one of them was going to cosmetology school because I said people are always going to want to look good, or go to culinary school because people are always going to want to eat. So
2 very true statements, yes.
So I think I chose the right one.
I would agree. I've had your food and your chef's food before, and they are all fantastic. So, well, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Chris. Thanks a lot. I give you a hug, but I'm still social distance.
Here, have this one right here.
Yep, boom. Do that.
There we go.
My man.
Awesome. Well, thank you, listeners, for joining us, and go and be a leader worth following.